So, thanks for listening. First of all, I would like to thank LOOPOP and all the judges like Jakob, Hack, and Ben Jordan for this opportunity and for their precious effort and time. It's amazing to participate in this contest along other DAW producers and DAWless jammers. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Gianluca Marchese, in art Adam Ford, a freelance mastering engineer and music producer from Italy. And as you've heard, I try to develop a traditional 4-on-the-floor synthwave, chillwave track, being my most familiar genre. I tried my best to stick at using stock plugins. That way everyone can learn from the project and tweak in real time how everything works without having to buy third-party plugins. So, sorry if the quality of the video isn't as high as modern standards, but I'm using the stock graphic card in my desktop rig and my video editing skills are very bad, so sorry for that. And what else? Let's dive in the explanation of this track. I mean, it's very simple. As you can see, it's a bit different than usual because I'm basically automating the BPM of the track in some sections like the beginning and the end. It goes from 45 BPM up to 105, and then around the end it goes down from 105 to 95. And I would like to start with the master section, the mastering chain. I just had some gate staging, a low-pass automation on some sections like the beginning and the pre-chorus, which is in reality is just the first chorus arranged as a bridge. And then we have some basic EQ, like an high pass and low pass. I just removed some 180 hertz of MUD, and then some 3.4K. I have a glue compressor, which is emulating a famous compressor from the 80s, and I will not mention the real name here, but it's using some glue setting, which are very popular. So slow attack, fast release, just to match the tempo of the track, and some gives the track some pumping and movement. What else? And I have some mid-side EQ. I love using mid-side techniques, and I'm high passing the sides because basically when you have so many dance layers with atmospheric tracks and pads and all the stuff that's going on, you may have some low mid to low end built up on the sides. So I just cleaned that up, and that is to make sure that the low end stays as clear as possible. And at the same time, when you high pass the sides of your music, what else can happen? Basically, the hard pan left and right elements of the mix can get a little bit deeper on the soundstage from the front to back mix perspective, instead of having distracting things on the left, on the right. And that's it. I basically had to remove on the mid channel some high frequency energy because the glue compressor has a tendency of changing the tonal qualities of your mix or whatever you're passing through it. Like every vintage compressor have some tonal characteristics and qualities. It tends to make the stuff, it goes through a bit more present, so I didn't want that. I just removed some of the high-end energy. And after that, just a limiter to prevent some clipping. I usually use as my main limiter FabFilter Pro L2, but since I tried to stick as using stock plugins on this track, I use the Live 11 stock one. And what else? I just use FabFilter Pro L2 as my metering option to go as loud as I could without breaking the laws. So -14 LUFS for YouTube. And yeah, I just used as well Acustica Audio Sienna, which is a correction tool for headphones, just to make sure that everything translated as I wanted. So let's dive in. The first track I have here, for example, is the sub, and the sub has an interesting story because it's not really a sub, but it's the sub register of LOOPOP Waldorf amp pad, which was sampled very high. So I used the sub because it had some interesting aliasing and digital grit and a very nice low end. We can hear it in action right here, for example. Let's give it a listen. Very nice bottom end, as you can see. And then I have some basic processing like an high filter, an high pass filter, some mud removal, sidechain to the kick, some compression. Since Live 11 doesn't have a transient designer, I wanted to expand the sustaining part of the sub, so I used a compression for that. A delay, which is very weird to use on a sub, but since some mastering processor, like the plugin from TDR Mastering EQ, has a phase shifting delay trick, which is very popular in mastering to extend the low end, I've used that. Some pedal distortion just to have some more harmonics, another desaturator with 15% wet where I am. Yeah, some limiter to prevent some more dynamics from jumping all over the place, and low pass automation, a crazy shelf EQ with an high hand boost because I wanted to extend and make more noticeable that digital lo-fi grid. Mono bass on the utility, an high pass automation, and the sub, that's it. For the bass, I used another Waldorf M sample, which is very good. I didn't think Waldorf M had so much low end. It's very nice. Just your standard synthwave Korg Poly 6-ish bass. This sampler has a bug. At least I think it's a bug, because sometimes it doesn't show which kind of instrument you are using, but it just shows this sampler, but it's one of the presets inside Waldorf M, I promise. And then I have some basic EQ. I'm trying to remove some mud, boosting the high-end presence. It has some filter sidechain compression, some flanger or flanger, depends where you come from, saturation, sidechain compression from the kick, another 2 cuts on the EQ, and some mid-side EQ, removing some energy from the mid and high passing the sides because some energy was created by the flanger, and low pass automation. On the low end bass, I have some more processing, like another filter to remove some lowish low end, the lowest low end, excuse me. And then I removed some cardboardness from 600 Hertz, some more compression from the glue compressor with an high pass filter in the sidechain, some mid-side EQ, and some limiter to prevent the dynamics from jumping all over the place and control it. Then we have the background section with the background bass, which has the strings, which in reality is just a brass from another Waldorf M sample, and LOOPOP Waldorf M6, as you can see. And let's give it a listen. Yeah, it's pretty fat. It's fat, it's metallic, and it has some high-pass filtering. It remembers me of Blade Runner, probably. Some low, mid mud removal, some low-pass filtering as well, some reverb. I just used the dark color preset and tweaked it a bit. Some flanger as well to have some more metallic timbre. Saturation to enhance some of the harmonics. Some delay, which isn't used as an as effect, but as a comp filter with this timing to have some more metallic timbre exposed. Limiter to prevent some dynamics from jumping all over the place. I'm basically using the limiter like a clipper and a more harsh compressor, and some slightly blended in overdrive. And that's it. For the pad, I used, let's see, I don't remember, LOOPOP Nymphis number 5 Outer Space preset, which is very nice. Let's give it a listen. Very atmospheric, and the pad has some processing, of course, on top. some basic high-pass filtering, some delay, some reverb with these settings, some sidechain compression, some 1% overdrive saturation, and some mid-side EQ where I'm just boosting the sides on the 255 region to expose and raise some of those reverb qualities and the more ambient qualities of the sound, and I'm removing that energy from the low mids on the mid channel to make the bass and all the low mids energy breathe from the other instruments, and I'm high passing both the mid and the side channel on similar frequencies, because when you do that, basically the phasing of the filtering make the sound a bit wider, but not in an artificial way like an as effect or a stereoizer. It's a more natural way. If you want to know more about these techniques, check out Dan World tutorials for FabFilter. And then we have some ear candies. Remember, this is the background bass. So let's see what else. Yeah, this is just some digital sampling hold craziness I've used from this sample, which is Udo Super 6, which was stacked between the keyboard and the desktop version, if I remember right. And it's the preset Random Journey. And I have some basic EQ, some Redux, or Redux, as you know it. It's a sample rate, bit rate reduction, just to have some more digital grit, some grain delay, which is randomizing the frequency, but nothing else, just a regular delay. I thought I was randomizing the pitch, but it's just one octave down. Some reverb and some sidechain compression, crazy mid-side EQing as well, removing some energy from the mid and transposing to the sides, and some delay automation on some sides, some parts of the track. And yeah, let's move on. We have the ear candy number 2, which is basically just a bell, if I remember right. Let's see. Yeah, as the name implies, it's just an ear candy. It's just a bell to prove some texture, which comes from the Le Bucla Tip Top 258T. And let me see. No, I didn't change nothing here. I just played with the attack on the release of the Decent Sampler, but on some instruments, but I don't remember which ones. Some basic EQ filtering, some delay, some frequency shifting to have a different timbre. And I'm removing some of the presence on the 1K region, some reverb, and let's call it a day. Ear candy number 3, which is, I don't remember. This is probably the static noise from Heimbach samples. Yeah, this is mixed very low, but it's basically some noise and some crackle. Loopop Dexter's Godfather Heimbach Quasar, or as you pronounce it. Some filtering as well, some boost on the high hand to let some noise through. And then we have the Quartz, and this one is another Waldorf M preset with just some filtering, some reverb, some sidechain compression, and that's it. And it plays on the end of the track. Yeah, and then we have the background bass processing, which is just some filtering, some compression, and some mid-side EQ with the same techniques I showed earlier. Then we have the drums. Let's start with the bass, and we have some basic filtering as well. I just removed some harshness from the 3.5K region, some gluish compression with slow attack and fast release, some mid-side EQ, removing the sides from a lot of stuff and boosting the low-mid, higher low-mids region and removing it from the mid channel, some limiting as well to have some more loudness, and at the same time remove some of the dynamics and reduce the peak to RMS ratio. Then we have the kick, which comes from I don't know, because this one just says decent sampler, but if you recall the image you can find what this one is. And I have a crazy boost around 800 Hertz just to have some more pockiness on the kick. Let's see how it sounds. It's just a kick. Some saturation with some automation on the busiest parts, some mud removal, some erosion to have some more high frequencies come through, some glue compression in parallel, and some filtering. Then we have the snare, and the snare sounds like surprisingly, it sounds like a snare. And this one comes from the, I think it's the 606, with some filtering as well, some crazy saturation blended in, some parallel compression, and then we have some reverb mixed in and automated along some parts of the track, some limiter, some delay, automated on some parts of the song, utility to reduce some of the stereo width because I wanted the snare to be more focused. And then I have some other chorus automation on some parts and some drums room automation on some parts of the song. Let's move on. We have the hats, which are always the 606 with some filtering, sidechain EQ, some grain delay automation. Right now, this one is the one with the random pitch, so the hi-hat basically fluctuates in pitch from time to time. Then we have some EQ with one band doing nothing. Drums room. Then we have the open hats. It doesn't make any sense to let the drums sound on itself. I will just make a demo with the drums on itself when I'm finishing explaining. Yeah, so finally it does show up that this one is the 6ham 0D6. What a complex name. We have on the open hat the same processing of the closed hat, but I have a gate since I didn't want to resample the hats and put it inside of a sampler to have the choke group. Basically, I made a gate that closed it down as soon as the closed hat plays. Some grain delay with the same settings, some kick side chain, and some drums room. Then we have the shakers, and the shakers come from 606 tweaked with the attack, so it doesn't get much more transient through. And then we have the reverb, the compression, sidechain compression, other than filtering. The percussion is another interesting topic because I have, for example, the LOOPOP Rapid Elephant Portal drum, and the percussion have some crazy nice rhythm along with the kick. Let's hear, for example, the drums in solo in a section with where the percussion plays. So this percussion has the modern Latin rhythm, which I usually hate, but it proved to be very nice on this song. And of course it does have some processing, otherwise I wouldn't be here explaining. Some filtering, some delay, some reverb with some more reflections, like the small chamber. That's why I chose the small chamber, because it does have some reflections. Compression and limiting. Same goes for the percussion number 2, which is from the Plankton Winter Modular Zaps. It's a lower in timbre, and it's on the left side because I made some on the right and some on the left. And it has some filtering, enhancing some resonances, which are the natural tuning of the drum. But this one, since it's a modular drum, and just enhancing the frequencies, which are the fundamental, and some other more. Some high-end boost, delay, small chamber, compression, limiting, saturation, and mid-side EQ, removing some energy from the sides and putting it back to the mid, so it does come through if someone out of 1,000 people will listen to this in mono. Then we have the claps, which comes from the 6M0D6. I'm learning it right. And saturation, EQ, reverb, usual stuff, glue compression. What else? Some chorus and sidechain compression from the snare. That way, when the snare hits, the claps don't hit at the same time, but they just enhance the tail of the snare. That's the effect I wanted. And for the drums, we are done. Then we have the effects with some mid-side EQ and compression, with a sidechain from the kick. And the effects basically are some noise effects, which in this track they are used as uplifters and downlifters from specific section to enhance the transitions moment. Like, for example, the 6M0D6 on this track with some filtering, flanger, reverb, all the good stuff, delay, and some pedal blended in. Then we have FX2, which is the Doppler 1262, with some filtering, some redux to have some digital grid, 100% wet, some reverb, some delay, and some saturation, and FX number 3, which is just the Plankton Winter Modular Zaps, again, with some filtering, reverb, autopan, so for some stereo movement, some more gain, because the compression wasn't receiving any signal loud enough to compress. So I basically boosted the gain, compressed, removed some frequency I didn't want with the mid-side EQ, and then gain staged back. And the effects sound like this on themselves. And yeah, nice effects. And what else? We have the master. I don't remember if I explained the master, but I think I did. So yeah, this one is my voice, and that's it. That's it for the track. And it was a very fun project. I wish to make others in the future. I always love to participate in contests like this. I'm sorry if I don't talk perfectly English, but it's not my mother tongue, even if I studied it in university. I'm not confident talking in videos, so don't be too harsh on me. This one is my first time. And what else? Thanks again to LOOPOP, Jakob, and Benn, and everyone who listened to the track. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to hear more, check out my social media links in the description. You will find the project as well. And to learn more about music production, I hope it helps. And to the next one, and cheers.